So hey guys, thanks for joining me this week. So I'll be finishing welding up all of the exhaust, checking for leaks, and even installing the turbo oil drain. So hope you guys enjoy. So I actually had to take the engine out so that I can rearrange everything onto the engine and weld everything up while it's still attached to it, because heat will actually pull it one way or another. And I didn't want that because I didn't want to have to go put it back in the car and it not want to fit. So I have to pull the engine, which isn't too bad because it's just the engine in there and there's no wiring or anything like that hooked up to it yet. So I just got my flex pipe here tacked on. I added this section because this other pipe right here was not flexible at all and it was gonna probably crack at one point. So I know it's gonna be a little extra work to recut and weld this all, but it'll be worth it in the end because I don't wanna have it crack down the road. And here it is, all welded up. It doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty good actually, and it actually flexes here, which is a lot better than what it was before, where it wouldn't even move at all. So I was only able to MIG weld this exhaust system on here because I did not have a TIG. And if I did have a TIG, this thing would have looked so much better. But in this case, I just didn't have it. I had to use what I had, which was a MIG welder with gas. It would have not looked as good as it did with gas. If I did it with flux, it would have looked like booger welds, where this thing would not be holding any exhaust gases at all. It would just have so many exhaust gas leaks that it wouldn't even be funny. And so now I'm gonna go and actually test to see if this thing has any exhaust leaks with a vacuum. And I'm gonna plug up this hole over here, and I'm gonna actually stick a rag over there also, tape it all up, and then shove the vacuum end on one side, the part that actually blows, and blow it into the exhaust system, and then I'll spray the entire exhaust system down with hot soapy water, and I'll be able to see where all the little pinholes are basically. All right, so we have the vacuum hooked up here, and I've got the vacuum's hose hooked up on the opposite side here. That way it's not sucking, it's blowing air out of the hose. And I've also got it all taped up. I've got a little rag inside that wrapped around the hose before I put it into the pipe with a little bit of tape on top of all of that. And then I did the same thing on this side also, put a rag in there and taped it off. And I also taped off the O2 bung here just to make sure that it wouldn't have any leaks at that point either. And now I'm just using a bottle here with a little bit of hot water and Dawn dish soap, so that way I can go ahead and spray down the entire exhaust system and find those pinhole leaks. Oh, I see bubbles. That's one of the pinholes that I found. And now I'll spray the rest of the exhaust system. And there it is. I've got all the exhaust leaks, all the pinholes, everything that needed to be addressed. Got them all welded. So surprisingly, I didn't have to fix as many pinholes as I thought I was gonna have to. There was probably 8 pinholes in the entire system. And there was a lot of welds. So I'm surprised that there wasn't more than that. But I did try my best to weld this thing as good as I could without it having that many pinholes. So I'm happy about that. So I'm gonna actually take the entire exhaust off again. And now I'm gonna actually paint it. That way, whenever I go to wrap it, it's got a little bit of a barrier between the wrap and the exhaust. Because apparently the exhaust wrap will actually hold moisture and cause the piping to start rusting a little bit quicker than it needs to. So just as a precautionary, I'm gonna go ahead and paint it. That way it will have less of a tendency to start rusting. And like I said in a previous video, yes, I should have gone with stainless steel here, but it's just something that I learned for the next build I do. I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning off all the parts here with a little bit of acetone. And I'll also take some sandpaper and lightly sand everything down so that way the paint has something to grip. I didn't know that I was gonna have to buy a primer for this thing. It didn't dawn on me because, you know, Rust-Oleum has paint and primer in one can. And each can right there costs $15 each. So I'm in 30 bucks total for the paint. And there's a lot of exhaust parts here. I just hope I have enough paint. All right, got them strung up, cleaned and sanded. Now I'll just add a little paint. So while I have the engine out and everything, I'm gonna go ahead and add some gussets here for the motor mount brackets. And I'll also weld in all the areas that I wasn't able to because the engine was in the way. And here's a view on the other side here. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and start welding all these things up. All right, it's pretty much all dry now. Luckily the sun came out and it kind of got some sun for a few hours. So I'm just gonna start wrapping all this. So I've got a few of the parts here wrapped now. And now since while I have the turbo on here, I'm gonna go ahead and start placing this oil drain line from the turbo into the oil pan. So I've actually did this in a weird way because I don't have an aluminum welder. I've gotten myself a 10 AN fitting, one that has a nut on the back side. Then on top of that, I bought myself tap and die for that size. So that way I can screw it in first and then have a bolt on the back side of the oil pan where that would hold on it also. I did put some red Loctite on it as well. I'm gonna thread it right here, and this will thread into it as well. And then on top of that, I'll have this as a backup on behind it. I'm gonna put a lot of red Loctite on it, so that way it doesn't come back out. And just to show that it is the right pitch and everything, I put the nut on it. In the end, I know I should have just welded this thing, but you know, I'm just trying to do something different. Try to do it for the show. So if this thing doesn't work, don't worry about it, guys. I'm just gonna go ahead and get it welded if it doesn't work out. All right, got it installed. The only thing is it's gonna be real close to putting that bolt in right there. The nut on the back. So it's not going anywhere, especially with that red Loctite. That helps on both ends. I red Loctite the casting here where I threaded it, and then red Loctite on the actual nut here as well, and tighten it as much as I could. So that way it's not going anywhere. I've got the flex plate sitting up here too, but there's no bolts on it. It's just kind of just sitting here for now. So I'm gonna need to adjust this rack and pinion here, because the oil pan is actually sitting on top of one of the lines right there. So I'm probably gonna go and take this bolt out right here at the rack that's holding the rack and pinion, probably lower it or make it turn in itself a little bit, possibly get an angle out of it, just so that way it'll just point down just a little bit, even if it's just a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 inch, just enough to go and clear it. And guys, with those motor mounts that I've put in here, this thing does not twist or turn, so it should be fine just sitting above it. But I know we won't be able to tell until we get this thing started. So, but this part right here, I'll just have to wait and hold off on it for a little bit, at least until I can get the transmission in and the rest of the exhaust to put in too. So I only needed this much line, and I've obviously got about a foot left here. So if I do screw up doing this, I've got 3 more tries that I could probably get out of this thing. So now it's installed. I had to obviously put a 90-degree fitting on the bottom of the turbo there from where it leads off of, so that way the thing would not go below the oil pan. I needed that line to be pretty much straight with the oil pan, and it's pretty much there, because apparently you can't have that line lower than the oil pan because it's not good for the turbo if it doesn't have easy flow back into the oil pan. Alright, so that's it for this video, obviously. Hope you guys liked what you saw. So there's going to be a few things that I'm going to be doing in the next video. One of them is going to be the flex plate and a few other things. And also I've got a video coming out next week for this thing. I did a will it run video last week, and next week I'm going to be installing a new carburetor. And if you guys like to check this out, I've got a playlist on my channel as well. So hey guys, thank you for watching, and hit that like button if you like this video. See you guys next time.